The year is 2050 and the Earth is a ravaged wasteland. Decades ago, the US military created the Skynet artificial intelligence program, meant to automatically coordinate defense strategy and outthink any potential foe. Unfortunately, the US installed Skynet on a Windows platform and it immediately bugged out, launching nuclear devastation across the Earth in a bid to wipe out humanity. Now, though, a plucky force of resistance warriors have fought the machines to the brink of defeat, and a desperate Skynet opens up a time portal, sending one of its elite Terminator units back in time to destroy the resistance before it ever gets a chance to form. In our present day, a T-800 Terminator approaches a young woman. This is the mother of the future resistance leader, who will unite all mankind against the machines. The T-800 immediately proceeds to kill her with cancer. But this turns out to be a big mistake because this woman is not only the future hope of humanity, but the wife of the world's premier most assassin, John Wick. Welcome to another episode of the Infographics Show's Who Would Win series. Today we're putting the time-traveling original Terminator versus the elite assassin John Wick in a fight to the death to determine the future of mankind and an ultimate winner both. Or wait, John Wick's wife is already dead from cancer in this scenario, so spoiler alert, the machines win in the future. But what about our battle royale? Let's find out. Cyberdyne Systems Model 101 Series 800 Terminator was a robot assassin sent back in time to find and eliminate Sarah John Wick's wife, before she could give birth to the future leader of the human resistance. Initially, the war against humanity went swimmingly for Skynet. Given the fact that most of us had died out due to the massive nuclear attack the machines had unleashed in their opening salvo, radiation and starvation quickly followed, and as the climate cooled due to a nuclear winter, exposure to the elements killed even more people. Those that survived, though, proved to be the hardiest of our species, and slowly began to group together into resistance cells armed with leftover military tech. The machines faced steep losses when assaulting human strongholds, and thus they developed the Terminator series of assassin drones. The goal of the Terminator program was to infiltrate human strongholds and then disable defenses from within, allowing Skynet forces to storm the human base. The first series of Terminators, however, proved to be easily spotted by humans due to their very fake waxy skin. Thus, Skynet went a different route with the upgraded T-800 model, growing a layer of living muscle and tissue over a titanium alloy endoskeleton. This new model proved to be very successful, at least until humans started using dogs to spot the imposter Terminators trying to gain entry into human strongholds. T-800 features a futuristic titanium alloy endoskeleton that's all but invulnerable to small arms fire. The chest chassis and the cranium, both housing the power core and the core CPU respectively, are especially hardened and can withstand even explosive blasts. Despite this, the T-800s were as vulnerable to human-made plasma weapons in the future as any other Terminator model. But sadly for John Wick, he has no access to these futuristic weapons. Faced with using present-day firearms, Wick is going to be in for a real chore, as any caliber up to 5.56 and even 7.62 firearms is going to do little to slow the Terminator down. A well-placed 50 caliber round, however, has been shown to be able to penetrate their thick armor, and an especially well-placed shot with a 50 caliber anti-material rifle can even decapitate a T-800. Other than heavy armor, the T-800 features a low-resolution radar that can help it pinpoint targets up to a few hundred feet away and can track the general direction of incoming fire, posing a serious hazard to snipers. It's also equipped with low light and thermal vision modes, so that the dark will be no cover against this hunter-killer. Armed with detailed knowledge of human anatomy, the Terminator is a deadly killer capable of putting rounds directly where they'll do the most damage. Its endoskeleton makes it tens of times stronger than a human being, so hand-to-hand combat is not an option. John Wick needs little, if any, introduction. He was raised in a Mexican village where he learned to grow up in the streets, stealing to feed himself and make ends meet. One day, this thievery drew the ire of a warlord and resulted in the deaths of many villagers, something that Wick feels responsible for to this day. In the cinematic universe, Wick was an orphan from Europe, raised to become a world-class assassin. Because in film scripts you only have so much real estate and need to establish backstories as quickly and unimaginatively as possible. Wick served with the US Marines before leaving the military to ply his considerable talents with the firearms and hand-to-hand combat in the private sector. He quickly made a name for himself as a top assassin and worked for the head of a top Russian crime family. One day, though, he met a woman and fell in love, requesting to be released from his duties so he could live a normal life. He was given an impossible mission: eliminate all of the Russian crime boss's enemies in one night, which he did and earned his freedom, so to speak. Sadly, a Terminator from the future showed up one day and gave his new wife cancer, and now he has to fight the Terminator to the death, and that's the new official canon, so deal with it. Wick is an expert in hand-to-hand combat, mastering several martial arts. Sadly, this will not do much for him in this fight because the Terminator is a master at punching people's heads off in one swing. Getting into a hand-to-hand fight here will be suicide for Wick. Luckily, though, Wick is also proficient with virtually any known firearm, and is also highly skilled as a sharpshooter and in close quarters battle. Given his time as an infantryman in the Marines, Wick is also proficient in the use of 50 caliber machine guns known as the Ma Deuce by U.S. service members, and the Mark 19 automatic grenade launcher, both pieces of hardware which will definitely be useful in taking down a Terminator. So we have our opponent's strengths and weaknesses. The Terminator has none, and John Wick is made of frail human flesh and bone. Who would win this matchup? Wick is no dummy, and the moment he opens up on the Terminator and sees that his 45 caliber handguns aren't putting a dent in it, he's gonna start thinking about upgrading his firepower. For its part, the Terminator is as basic a killing machine as they come. It doesn't plan, it doesn't think, it doesn't try to ambush you, it just comes at you. Like a deadly version of 2014's hit horror flick It Follows, only a lot less tedious, boring, and overhyped. This is something that Wick can use to his advantage, as he can easily lure the Terminator into one of many scenarios where it can be trapped or destroyed with superior firepower. Unfortunately, though, since Skynet has learned all the world's knowledge that has ever been posted on the internet, it saw our previous episode on You versus the Terminator, and thus this Terminator knows to stay well away from any cryogenic fluids. Our bad. That's a shame though, because the rapid cooling would structurally weaken the Terminator's endoskeleton and allow Wick to finish it off with a few well-placed shots. With his military contacts, though, Wick has just the solution to defeat the Terminator: the M3 multi-role anti-armor anti-personnel weapon system. A recoilless rifle, the M3 is quickly becoming the go-to for U.S. infantry for duties such as taking out enemy tanks, bunkers, or even entire groups of soldiers, thanks to a round that fires 1,000 deadly sharp flechettes. The M3 is one of the most versatile weapon systems in the world, and along with taking out structures, tanks, and squads of soldiers, can be used to fire illumination rounds or even smoke rounds to provide cover to friendly forces. Today, though, Wick is going to be equipped with the FFV 751 Heat round, featuring a tandem warhead. The round is capable of defeating up to a whopping 500 millimeters of modern tank armor, with the first explosive defeating the first few layers of armor, and the second propelling a jet of explosive force to cut through the remaining armor and kill the crew inside. Even with its formidable and futuristic titanium alloy skeleton, there's little the Terminator can do to stand up to the devastating force of the M3 recoilless rifle, because physics. With just a single shot, the Terminator is going to be itself terminated. Though if Wick isn't careful and is standing too close, the destroyed power core will set off an explosion that can decimate anything within 50 meters. Luckily, the FFB 751 round has a range of 500 meters, so being out of the explosive blast zone won't be a problem for Wick. We declare the winner of this Who Would Win to be John Wick, because no matter how mighty the Terminator may be, in the end it's a dumb machine with only one goal and zero ability to improvise or plan. Even its formidable endoskeleton is no match for modern anti-tank weapons, and with the Terminator dead, Wick is free to go home and find some solace in his wife's death with the dog she left him behind. Except days later, as Wick is seeking comfort from the dog his dead wife left him behind, the dog explodes and kills Wick. That's right. After its defeat, Skynet sent back in time another Terminator, this time looking like a dog. What, did you really think a super intelligent computer couldn't make Terminators that look like things other than humans? Ultimately, we're declaring Terminator the winner, because while Wick can outthink a Terminator, Skynet literally has all the time in the world to learn from its mistakes thanks to its time travel technology, and thus defeat, much like Judgment Day, is ultimately inevitable. Do you love strange, unexpected stories that defy belief but are completely true? Then you'll love the new show I Am. Fascinating tales told from the perspective of those who lived them. Find out what it was like to be a plague doctor during an outbreak of the Black Death, or the captain of the Titanic as it sunk into the sea. Each episode, you'll jump inside the mind of a new person to get a first-person view on incredible events like no other. New episodes every week. Be one of the first to subscribe now and tell us who you want to see brought to life in I Am. Who do you really think would win between John Wick and a Terminator? What other epic matchup do you want to see us do? Let us know on our website. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and obey.